Big shout out and thank you to Rosemarie for leaving the comment that led to my discovery that we're about to take a look at here. She left a comment with a link to the Washington Post article about the town of Lytton in Canada that was destroyed, engulfed immediately. And you'll see that the houses are ablaze and the trees in between aren't burning. And you'll hear in the testimony, I will point things out that indicate to me that it was plasma fire, one that it was in low-lying area. And I will say right now that I was watching a special on the Weather Channel last night about the fires. And I recorded some of it if I can actually find it online and use screenshots instead of my phone camera. I'll do a report on it. But they were covering the fires of 2020 and 21 like they were documentaries, because they were record-setting. And one guy was talking about how he would take his daughter and jump in a culvert, one of these metal pipes, a drainage pipe, four foot around drainage pipe that goes underneath the road. Those are exactly where I see the burn marks in the center of the freeway. Exactly where that ground starts to taper down into those culverts, it blackens and scorches all the way down through, up to the other side where it comes back up to the same level. I'll take a video of it next time I'm going by. But this is the kind of information and understanding about these fires that might save someone's life. You don't jump down in one of those culverts because, like I've said, it flows like water. The low spots burn, the high spots are unburned. And that metal culvert around you works like an antenna. So if I can find the Weather Channel's special from last night about the wildfires, I'll show you some of the things. But these are what we're about to look at. The Washington Post article that I'm going to read you, and I can tell in the wording that it was a plasma fire. And then I'm going to show you parts of Promethean footprints from Tremonton to Deweyville, where the power poles have a piece burnt out of them, and a metal brace put there after to keep it from falling over. Keep that in mind. We're going to look at the images and read the article. This is actually the thumbnail photo that they gave me for the video called Promethean Footprints from Tremonton to Deweyville. And as you can see, there's a piece missing right here out of this pole, and they've placed this metal bracket there afterwards to brace it up. There's the name of this. Part 1 of 3, Promethean Footprints from Tremonton to Deweyville. Link will be in the description. I've seen many of these braces going up on the bottom of poles all over, like preventatively, beforehand, before it does this. But in this Washington Post article about the fire in Canada that just took out a whole city, they talk about how a power pole fell over. I would suggest that that might be how. So that link will be in the description, and we're now going to look at the Washington Post article that includes video. And I want you to watch the video as it shows it to me. House is burning, trees in between not burning. House is burning, trees unburned around them. See it again and again. Trees around the house that's burning, not burning. All the trees around the house in the foreground and to the right, and right there next to the house. Right here next to the house. To the upper left, there's trees right there. Right here in the foreground, there's trees, unburned. And off here to the right, there's also trees, unburned, of that house that you see with flames engulfing it, that they keep replaying over and over. So the house is lighting on fire and all the trees around it are not on fire. And you can see the trailer that's parked to the side of the house, to this side of the house, is also in flames. But the trees around it, there's a trailer or something right there. Looks like it's off to the side of the house. Right there, off to the side of the house, to the left. Right there, off to the side of the house, you can see that there's a trailer sitting there. That doesn't seem to have helped. So yeah, you can see the trailer they passed. The trailer is engulfed. And so is the house, but the trees around it are still standing. Need I see any more before I can tell you what's going on there? They're acting as electrical conduit. The ground wire, all the piping that leads into the house, water, sewer, and gas. See if I can get that more focused. There we go. Water, sewer, and gas that goes into the house works as a conduit running underground. So does all the electrical wire. So does your grounding wire that normally protects you from lightning from above and has a rod on top of your house with a wire leading into the ground. That wire leading into the ground leads the electricity from the ground up into your house. It flows in reverse when the lightning is coming from the ground up and it goes into your house. So, you guys can watch this. Let's check it out. Let's read their account of things. Lytton is gone. Accounts of death and destruction in Canadian village that caught fire in record heat. The story's been updated. Residents returning to what remained of Lytton, British Columbia, after the tiny Canadian village was hit by a wildfire on Wednesday evening, brought with them accounts of death and destruction. Jeff Chapman told Post Media News that his parents, a couple in their 60s named Jeanette and Mike, took cover in a hole in the ground as the area went up in flames. Like I said, you don't go down. This stuff flows like water and burns the low spots and leaves the high spots unburned. Chapman, who was nearby getting ready for a family barbecue, then saw an electricity pole topple and fall on his parents' hiding spot. There's the part about the electricity pole that I wanted you to pay attention to. Why did an electricity pole fall and topple on his parents' hiding spot in a fire? Because as you can see, not everything was totally consumed, and I would suggest it is because those fire poles are buried in the ground, so they draw a lot of electricity. They're buried 6 feet in the ground to begin with. And we've seen that they're coming up with ways to try to release that energy through these lag bolts that they put down in them at a 45-degree angle. Large, long lag bolts made out of metal to give that energy a place to release out of the center of the pole rather than just burning it from the inside out back into the atmosphere. So he saw this electricity pole topple and fall on his parents' hiding spot. They did not make it out. He told a reporter speaking from a motel in a nearby town on Thursday. It's their grave now, he said. Local officials have said that roughly 90% of the village, which had a population of about 250, was burned in the fire. Now, are they saying the people, 90% of the people were burned in the fire, or 90% of the village? It's hard to say. Local officials have said that roughly 90% of the village, which had a population of 250, was burned. So they're saying 90% of the village was burned, like the landmass or the houses. But they also slip in the number of people there, and they talk about deaths later on, as indicated by Rosemarie in the original comment, that there's a extremely large number of deaths related to the high temperature and weather, and they keep trying to blame it on weather and climate change. So local officials have said that roughly 90% of the village, which had a population of about 250, was burned in the fire. The local ambulance station and Royal Canadian Mounted Police Detachment were among the buildings that were burned. The British Columbia Coroner Service said on Friday that it had received reports of 2 deaths in Lytton. The agency said coroners are near the area but it is still unsafe to attend. That means the coroners aren't actually going in and counting the number of bodies. I believe this is what that sentence means. It's hard to say. It's kind of gobbledygook. The agency said coroners are near the area, but it is still unsafe to attend. That means that's why they still only have the number of 2 deaths. Because they're not actually going in. They're just staying near. With the slogan, Canada's hotspot, Lytton was well known as a place that could see warmer temperatures than usual for Canada's west. Nestled in a valley, its low elevation also made it particularly dry. Again, like I said, low elevation, this electricity ground current flows like water. Low spots get burned, high spots stay unburned. But even by Lytton's standards, the heat brought to the area by this week's heat dome, they put it heat dome in quotes, of high pressure were unusual, raising new concerns about unpredictable impact of climate change weather events. On Sunday, it set a record for top temperatures in Canada at 116 degrees. The following day, it broke it again with 118 degrees. On Tuesday, the record went up to 121 degrees. Around 6 p.m. on Wednesday evening, that's what they did in Paradise too. Around 6 p.m. on Wednesday evening, officials ordered the town to evacuate. In total, around 1,000 people in the village and surrounding area were evacuated. Royal Canadian Mounted Police went door to door telling people it was time to leave now. Our poor little town of Lytton is gone, one resident, Edith Laurenberg-Kuna, wrote Thursday on Facebook. This is so devastating. We are all in shock. Our community members have lost everything. In an email sent the next morning to members of the media, village councillor Lorraine Greer wrote that most residents escaped with only the clothes on their back. The damage to the village was probably catastrophic, Gray wrote in a message which she said was sent on behalf of our mayor, Jan Palderman, and other officials without internet access. At a news conference, provincial officials said that the impact of the fire was still being assessed. Mike Farnsworth, British Columbia's public safety minister and solicitor general, said Thursday that some of the residents were unaccounted for, in part because people scattered when they evacuated. This has been a very difficult day, Farnsworth said, and the days ahead are going to challenge us. Officials also shared a link for evacuees to register for support services. British Columbia Premier John Horgan said that he had spoken to Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, who offered his assistance. He warned that the fire risk remained extreme in almost every part of the province, with 62 new fires and 29,000 lightning strikes in the last 24 hours. Huh? Lytton has been devastated, the premier said, and it will take an extraordinary amount of effort to get that historic location back to what it was. One video filmed by residents on Wednesday showed the village shrouded in a reddish haze with black smoke billowing from the trees, buildings, and cars. But mostly just from the buildings and cars, not so much from the trees. Lytton's weather station webcam went offline that evening at 5:40 p.m. local time, around the time that the power outage hit. So the power outage hits the same time as the weather cam goes offline, the same time as the fire hits, because it's an electrical fire. The fire comes with an electrical surge. Ground current. The last weather reading from the station came just a minute later, with the temperatures of almost 99 degrees and winds of 42 miles per hour. Suddenly in the California winds, the winds kick up at the same time as the fires. Likewise with the special I watched last night on the Weather Channel about the fires of 2020-2021. The winds suddenly kicked up right as the fires started. That is a recurring theme that we keep hearing. Not good. This is the last image from the Lytton weather station webcam before it went offline around 5:40 p.m. local. Last weather report from Lytton was at 5:40 p.m. With a temperature of 37 Celsius and winds gusting to 67 kilometers per hour. And you can see the smoke in the background. So that's the last image it took right as the fire was coming, and there was also a power outage right at the same time, right around 5:40 local time. Power outage, webcam went offline, fires hit simultaneously. Lytton's climate nightmare, it's a climate nightmare, comes amid a wave of hot weather across British Columbia. It is the result of the same heat dome caused by high pressure, which forces the heat down rather than allowing it to rise, in turn making the air even hotter. That has led to record heat in U.S. cities such as Portland and Seattle. Lytton has set records for high temperatures for 3 days in a row, surpassing the highest temperatures ever recorded in Las Vegas. Trudeau said on Friday that he would be convening a meeting of his incident response group. I'm sorry, I can't stand gobbledygook nonsense, and it's Trudeau. In the afternoon to address the needs of those in the community in British Columbia hit by the extreme weather and wildfires. Obviously, today our thoughts are mostly with families that are grieving, facing a terrible loss, he told reporters. But of course, we also have to recognize the fact that extreme weather events are getting more frequent, and climate change has a significant role to play in that. We have to recognize that? Oh, because you just said so. Oh, because the lives that were lost. If you don't admit that climate change, we all have to. We have to face and recognize, the fact, it's a fact now, that weather events play a significant role in that, in these deaths. So he's going to use these deaths to try and say you have to admit weather events, climate caused this, or you don't grieve for the loved ones. See how that works? It's called wizardry. The heat wave, the heat may already had a devastating impact across much of British Columbia, with elderly and other vulnerable residents appearing to have been hit the hardest. British Columbia Coroner Service had received reports of 719 sudden and unexpected deaths between June 25th and Thursday. Well, June 25th and Thursday? Why didn't you show me the other date? Trying to confuse the reader? Chief Coroner Lisa Lapointe said in a statement 3 times the usual number. Founded at the confluence of 2 major rivers during the gold rush, Lytton's economy once revolved around forestry, but is now mainly a destination for whitewater rafting. It routinely reports some of the highest temperatures in Canada due to a combination of dry air and low elevation. Again, low elevation burns first. Polderman told a local radio station this week that he'd hoped his town's hotspot slogan would not be quite so literal. Nyuk, 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 nyuk. I'd rather be known as Canada's hotspot for education, healthcare, quality of life, rather than having the hottest temperatures, he said. Polderman made a quick drive into Lytton on Wednesday night after ordering the evacuation and told CTV News that the town had been engulfed by flames. I'm just hoping that all the residents got out, Polderman said. Engulfed, and they have that in quotes, because it all happened so quickly. Lytton's evacuation came amid a broader swath of wildfires. 2 fires to the north of Lytton centered on Sparks Lake and McKay Creek had a combined area of 35 square miles, according to the Wildfire Service, with both classified as out of control. So that's 2 separate wildfires that happened, along with a third, I believe. Officials said Thursday that the cause of the fire was still under investigation, but that it was separate from wildfire that was burning southeast of the village. Horgan said that he had anecdotal information consistent with reports that the fire was caused by a train moving through the community. Yeah, maybe a train that was acting like a big antenna, the train and or the track. Canadian Pacific Railway and Canadian National Railway, which operate trains through the area, said that they would cooperate with investigators. There was little or no time to warn the community, Horgan said. In fact, it was the mayor himself that got the first whiff, and within minutes, the city was engulfed. First whiff, in other words, as soon as you smelled smoke, a minute later, the whole place was engulfed. Yeah, that's pretty much what that says. And that's the end of the story. So, there was little or no time to warn the community, Horgan said. In fact, it was the mayor himself that got the first whiff, and within minutes the city was engulfed. That's the final words to the story. This is the cover photo from one of my videos that I believe I came from 2 weeks ago. And like I said, I got a pretty good YouTube system administrator, self-appointed mods down there giving me good cover photos, like when they took Doug's image and put it as the thumbnail photo. That was from 3/4 into the video. This one was from about 1/4 way into a 20-minute video, like from 5 minutes into a 20-minute video. But it looks like I'm zapping the outside of the log and making it glow from the inside. That was from 2 weeks ago. And that was just one of many images. In that video, you can see I put my hand on the logs, and they're not burning on the outside, and as you can see, red hot on the inside. So yeah, see, that one was 2 weeks ago. This one is from 1 month ago, and as you can see, it's burning on the inside. Unburning on the outside, another one where I caught it happening live. And someone commented in the comment section, I mean, I love all of them, but they were like, one of these days you're going to see it happen right in front of your eyes and have solid proof. Well, it happened 2 weeks ago and 1 month ago, and these are just the ones that have the thumbnail that they gave me a good thumbnail on. And this one that happened 1 month ago, I titled it Live Plasma Fire Number 4 because it was the 4th one that I'd come upon live this year. And I've been doing this 3 years. I didn't come upon any live ones any time before, and I've had a good eye for this for a while now. So it's definitely increasing. Here's Live Plasma Fire Number 3, 2 months ago. And these giant logs are smoldering on the inside. All these links will be in the description. And here's what I think I counted as my first live plasma fire. And you see the thumbnail they gave me here has a stick with only the middle burnt out. Like a line of electricity went across that stick and burnt the middle part of it and not the two edges. And I think I probably rolled that stick over because it probably burnt the bottom side. Because all of these radiate upward from the ground and typically burn the bottom side only. So these are happening quite frequently, as you can see. Here is what they chose for the thumbnail photo of 4 days ago. That's what I'm saying. I don't choose any of these thumbnail photos, but they usually give me a good one. Where I'm putting my finger through a hole in a 8x8 board. Probably 6x6, maybe 8x8. Burnt all the way through. In these bizarre burn patterns. That's how an electrical pole falls over on his mom in her hiding position. Is it does something like this. It doesn't even have to have the electricity hooked up to it to do this. Just has to be plugged into the ground. Like this fence pole is planted a couple feet into the ground. Same thing with that power pole. This one looks the coolest though. It looks like I'm doing some sort of finger wizardry with my finger to zap the board to make it glow on the inside like that. Come on, you gotta admit, it's cool. Bzzz. You know, the Christians are gonna pass this photo around and say, look, he's the one that can draw down fire from heavens. I got the photographic evidence. I'm gonna go string him up. String him up. Get a rope. Get a rope. Look at him right there. Doing his magic hand signs. I'll bet that's Freemasonic hand sign he's doing right there on the top of the log to make it glow like that. He's a wizard witch. Let's go see if he floats. Let's go see if he floats. That does look pretty badass though, don't it? I'm losing my voice. I'm going to have to bring this one to an end. You see how it's glowing on the inside though? How it's like all microwaved up and glowing on the inside and I'm touching it on the outside? That's how I know a few things about how this stuff works. A microwave cooks it from the inside. You see that? You see what I'm bloviating about? Are you seeing what I'm saying? Alright. May the Space Force be with you. Wait a minute, I just found another one that they're gonna string me up for sure. Look, he just points his finger and starts him with his freaking finger. Abracadabra.